Hey everybody, welcome to the station. I'm Skyline Shore, and this is going to be my first impression review so far on the alpha of a MOBA called Supernova.
FreeMMOStation.com.
Now, first things first, do you really want to get into the alpha? I think there's a couple of reasons why, but honestly, there is just not a population, a big enough player base to actually enjoy the games. In fact, all this footage is from me fighting just AI and with AI. I could not even find co-op matches. So yeah, there's a huge lack of a player base. It's a very, very closed alpha here, but this game, I can't believe it is so closed. I wish it was more open because it's actually extremely polished. The only reason why you might not want to play this game is because there's not many people playing, but the truth is that this game is actually really well done. A huge amount of polish with animations, with the art design, with the physics of the game as well. Everything is pretty mechanical. Everything is running pretty well. I didn't see many glitches, if any, at all. Overall, everything just kind of went well. It looks like a really well-produced game, and I probably could just rant about that forever, but let's get into the mechanics of the game. Let's talk about the game feel. Let's talk about what makes Supernova Supernova. Okay guys, so let's talk about mechanics. Now, this is something that's going to be really important with this game in particular because it doesn't have an item shop. In Dota 2, it's okay for a lot of the characters to kind of lack mechanics. Sometimes they're just auto-attack based because in that game, items have a lot of active abilities or they're just very deep and complex. So, you're actually adding onto your character's kit with these items. Now, in League of Legends, it's more stat-based, even though with the recent changes to Season 5, they are also very active-based, so the game is evolving very heavily. Good on you, League of Legends. But this game does not have an item shop. And instead of having Heroes of the Storm passives, which is unique to every character, this game is having just attributes. I know you can upgrade attributes in Dota 2, so think of that system, except much more evolved. You get different passives and traits, and then you can also directly increase your attack damage, or your attack speed, or your regen, and stuff like that. So it's kind of a mix between Dota style and then as well a mix of Heroes of the Storm, and just cut out the item shop in between though. However, this is an issue because player mechanics aren't as mechanical as I would like. In League of Legends, that's fine. Character kits are really deep, really complex. You have people with abilities that essentially do 3 different abilities depending on what you're doing, and then you're just upgrading the stats of those abilities. In this game though, different abilities are kind of usual. They're very Dota styled, I would say. Now some characters do have a little bit more mobility, some characters are a little bit more siege based, but overall, they're not as mechanical, and the physics of the game also aren't as mechanical as League of Legends. You can't attack turn as fast as League of Legends. You're not going to have the fluidity that you do have in League of Legends, and because of the character kits that are designed in that game. So if you're looking for a game that kind of feels like League of Legends, this isn't the game. Yeah, strategically, it might be somewhat similar because of the map design and the lane focus, but really this is a whole nother beast, and it's based heavily on strategy versus mechanics. Even though some of these kits are very mobile, I'm just saying, if you like League of Legends, there's a 50-50 chance that you won't like this game, or you may like it. However, if you are a fan of Dota or maybe Heroes of the Storm, I think you're gonna maybe fall in love with Supernova. Alright guys, so let's look at the shop as a free-to-play game. That's something that we have to look at to see if it's gonna be pay to win or what things that we want to buy. There's a lot of games that do monetization very well and give us things that we really want to buy. So in this game, I think one particular unique factor to its shop is that you can actually get skins for your creep spawns. So you have custom creep spawns, and then they also look the way that you want to. You have different themed skins for your different creeps, which is really cool. You also have skins for your character, and you can also purchase different units. So similar to Air Mech, yes, you can do that. Also replacing the mastery system, I guess you could say, metaphorically or similar to League of Legends, we have to purchase our different abilities and traits and passives in order to be able to use them. Instead of just getting those like through leveling up, we have to purchase them with currency, which is just a way of gating and just a way of progression. They're also very cheap, so really easy to get, but yeah, you can purchase those there. In the end, I checked out the shop, and it doesn't look like it's pay to win at all. There's just some progression systems in there. They don't seem grindy or unworth at all. I'm a big fan of this skin, so hopefully we can get a lot of different themes for our creeps. And hopefully we are going to get more and more different kind of units, because that's a really fun thing about Air Mech is that not only are you getting different characters, but you're also getting different creep spawns. So in this game, similar aspect, hopefully we're going to have a really interesting and evolving shop as time goes on. Alright, so the jungle. This is something that needs to be talked about. It's really not as complex, or I guess as rewarding as League of Legends. League of Legends has very unique monsters that, I guess not mechanically, they kind of all are very similar. They just auto-attack you to death, but they do give different rewards, especially for the jungler. It's not just for farming. You actually get incredibly unique bonuses from these. And overall, the jungle is probably the most unique inside of League of Legends. But this game, it's also pretty well done. It's at least big, and it reminds me a lot of Smite. Smite has a very big open jungle, and so does this game. It's very big. There's lots of corners and nooks and crannies that you can hide in. And overall, it's kind of fun just to kind of slither around or crawl around in here and get your ganks on. But overall, just grinding and farming, it's not as fun as it is in League of Legends, because you don't get any direct bonuses as instantly. So there's that. But fighting these monsters, it was interesting that some of them are actually mechanical. There's one camp in particular that actually goes invisible and then will roam around and then reappear and attack you from a different location, which is, I don't know, it just kind of mixes it up. It makes it kind of fun to fight it. And I would actually like to see some more of these camps get unique mechanics with that. That was one thing that I actually really enjoyed about Dawngate. Now, I didn't get to fight the big boss or the mini boss monsters, but hey, at least those do exist. There is a big jungle, and it is a priority. There probably is going to be a jungler position in this game, because you do get heavily rewarded for jungling. It's also not very easy either. So yeah, jungle looks nice. It does exist. Not as interesting of a concept as it is in Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends, but there is more of a focus than on Dota 2. Real quick, one mechanic that I think is kind of interesting to gameplay is that you can choose between humans or cyborgs. And what this does is it kind of changes your personal rule set. What happens is whenever you back in MOBAs like League of Legends or Hearthstone, you have to stand still, wait a certain amount of time, and you go back. And that's kind of how it works with Cyborg. But for one instance, with the humans, you actually hit the back button, and then you can move around as long as you're still in the recall location, vicinity, approximately. And then you can just kind of move around, dodge skill shots while you wait for your pickup. And then you are actually fly through the map back to your base. So it's not as instant, and it's not as brief as the Cyborg backing, but it's arguably a little bit better in a sense, because strategically, if you want to dodge skill shots or if you want to be a little bit safer while backing. It does take a little bit longer to back though. But also you get a secondary ability where you can actually be dropped off anywhere that you want. So when you get back to base, you essentially have a teleport like in League of Legends, and you can choose wherever on the map you want to be dropped off, and then you'll be flown over and then dropped off there. Also, whenever you choose human or cyborgs, it does change your creeps, or the allotted creeps that you are allowed to have. You have a bunch of human mercenaries or whatever units, or you can have cyborg units. Overall, I think it's a kind of interesting gameplay mechanic that they added into the game, just to change things up strategically, which is kind of the theme. So my first impressions on Supernova is that it's extremely well polished, it looks great, it even plays amazing. Now Heroes of the Storm is also a new MOBA that I've been playing, and it runs like crap, honestly, like 24 FPS or even less sometimes. It's just a little bit ridiculous. But on this game, I'm running at 60 FPS, no problem. It could probably even run at 120 if it wasn't capped. And as well, you know, I run Dota 2 and League of Legends at 120 FPS. So this game is running amazing. It even has really, really well done graphics and aesthetic and looks and design and blah blah blah. You guys know what I'm saying. I think it looks great. Now, I do think the game might suffer a little bit from characterization, because these characters aren't exactly memorable. I think Bloat is memorable, maybe Axiom, but overall, I think it's going to suffer the same way that Airmech does, because these characters kind of just look like robots. You know, they don't have faces, they don't really have backstory. We don't exactly have the characterization that we have in League of Legends, like with Teemo. You see Teemo, you guys know Teemo. Or like, you know, Pokemon, Pikachu. There's a lot of characterization in those games, and that's why they, well, prosper. This game might suffer a little bit from that, but if you can get over that and get into the game, there's actually a lot of color with these characters when you get into the game, but I have to admit that the voice lines are a little bit annoying, but at least they're not as cheesy as Shards of War. Now, game feel, I think it feels right. It's a strategy MOBA. It's not a brawling MOBA, which is what we see with Strife and what we see with Heroes of the Storm, Tomy Mortal Arena. A lot of these new MOBAs are brawling MOBAs. This is a kind of usual MOBA, except they're changing it up, and they're adding a lot more strategy, a little bit more RPG mechanics as well, mixing it with RTS. Sure, they kind of sacrifice some mechanics, but at the same time, it's not a total lack of mechanics. It's just kind of a blend of a lot of different kind of MOBAs, and I think it's just polished so well that it will work in the end. So that's my opinion, guys. Thanks for watching. This was the closed alpha beta number 2. Hopefully we can get some more videos out as it releases, and if it goes open, or if you guys are in, definitely add me. My name is Skylant Shore. I'll definitely be playing this game. I am having fun. 2 thumbs up. 3 stars, I don't know what to give it. Just good praise, I guess. So thanks for watching, guys. Come back to the FreeMMOStation, and go check out FreeMMOStation.com. We got a lot of stuff over there too. Like and subscribe if you want to keep watching these videos. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.